Ethan Cole had built one of the largest tech companies in America from a tiny apartment and a second-hand laptop. By 42, he was the kind of CEO magazines love to photograph: sharp suit, private jet, polished smile. Employees called him brilliant. Investors called him unstoppable. But every night, when the lights in his penthouse dimmed and the city below glittered like stars trapped on Earth, Ethan sat beside his 8-year-old son's bed and prayed for something money could not buy. "Please," he whispered one night, holding the boy's tiny hand. Just one word. His son, Noah, had never spoken. Doctors called him nonverbal autistic. Therapists tried everything. Specialists came from Boston, Chicago, even overseas. Ethan paid millions chasing hope, but Noah remained silent, communicating only through soft hums, fleeting smiles, and the gentle squeeze of a hand. At first, Ethan attacked the problem the same way he attacked business: through control. He hired the best experts, built therapy rooms inside their home, scheduled every hour of Noah's day. But silence doesn't obey power, and over time Ethan began to break. His wife, Claire, had once told him, "Noah doesn't need to be fixed. He needs to be loved." But Claire died in a car accident 3 years earlier. After that, the house became quieter than ever. Ethan buried himself in work, because work made sense. Numbers made sense. Silence didn't. Every morning, Noah rode with Ethan to the company headquarters in downtown Seattle, because Ethan hated leaving him alone with strangers. The employees adored the little boy. Noah often sat in the corner of conference rooms, wearing oversized headphones, while executives argued over billion-dollar deals. Yet, the child never spoke. One rainy November afternoon, Ethan's driver was sick, so Ethan picked Noah up himself after therapy. Traffic was brutal. Horns echoed through the streets while cold rain hammered the windshield. Then Noah suddenly tapped the glass. Hard. Ethan glanced over. "What is it, buddy?" Noah pointed toward a bus stop. A homeless woman sat there clutching a thin blanket around herself, and a little girl no older than 6. The child's sneakers were soaked through. She shivered violently. Ethan sighed. He reached for his wallet automatically, but the light turned green and cars behind him began honking. "We'll donate later," he muttered. But Noah kept tapping. Again. And again. The boy's breathing became frantic, almost desperate. Ethan frowned and pulled over. Rain drenched his coat as he stepped out. The woman looked startled when he approached. "Here," Ethan said awkwardly, handing her a few $100s. The woman stared at the money with trembling hands. "Sir, thank you." But Noah was still upset inside the car. Ethan opened the back door. "See, we helped." Noah shook his head fiercely. Then he pointed again, this time not at the woman but at the little girl. The child was crying silently. Something inside Ethan shifted, without fully understanding why. He removed his own expensive wool coat and wrapped it around the little girl's shoulders. Then he crouched down to her level. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lily," she whispered. The mother explained they had been evicted 2 days earlier, after medical bills destroyed their savings. She'd spent the last of her money on antibiotics for Lily. Ethan stood frozen in the rain. For years, he'd sat in boardrooms discussing market corrections and cost-efficient layoffs, never seeing the faces behind the numbers. But now he saw Claire. Claire volunteering at shelters. Claire telling him compassion mattered more than success. Claire saying, "People are not interruptions, Ethan. They're the reason we're here." He swallowed hard. That night, Ethan booked the woman and her daughter into a hotel. The next day, he connected her with a housing program and offered her a job through one of his company's outreach departments. It should have ended there, but Noah changed after that day. For the first time in months, the boy smiled more often. He started bringing Ethan his shoes every evening, pointing toward the city outside. "You want to go out?" Ethan asked. Noah nodded eagerly. So they did. At first, it was simple things: delivering food to shelters, handing out blankets, visiting children's hospitals. Ethan wore baseball caps to avoid attention. But word slowly spread that the billionaire CEO was spending nights serving meals downtown, and something strange happened. The more Ethan focused on helping others, the less empty he felt. For years, he'd chased achievement thinking it would heal him, but healing arrived through kindness instead. Then came Christmas Eve. Snow drifted softly across Seattle streets while Ethan and Noah volunteered at a community center. Hundreds of struggling families packed the building for warm meals and donated gifts. Ethan stood near the kitchen, helping carry trays when a volunteer rushed over. "We're short on presents," she whispered anxiously. More kids came than expected. Without hesitation, Ethan grabbed his keys. "Come on, Noah." They drove to 3 different stores, buying every toy they could fit into the SUV. By the time they returned, volunteers formed a chain passing gifts inside. Children squealed with excitement. Noah stood near the entrance watching it all. Then Ethan noticed a small boy, sitting alone against the wall. No coat, no family. Just staring at the floor, Ethan approached carefully. "Hey there, where's your mom or dad?" The boy shrugged without looking up. A volunteer quietly explained that the child's mother had been hospitalized earlier that day. Social services were trying to locate relatives. The boy hadn't spoken to anyone for hours. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Because he knew that look. Loneliness recognizes loneliness. He knelt beside the child. "What's your name?" Still no answer. Suddenly Noah walked over. The room grew quiet because Noah rarely approached strangers on his own. Slowly, Noah sat beside the boy and held out a small stuffed bear they'd bought earlier that night. The little boy finally looked up. Tears filled his eyes as he took the bear. And then it happened. Noah gently touched the boy's shoulder, looked directly at him, and spoke. "You can have mine." The words were soft, fragile, but unmistakable. The entire room froze. Ethan stopped breathing. For one, impossible. Second, he thought he imagined it. Then Noah looked at the crying child again. "My mommy said, nobody should be alone on Christmas." Ethan's knees nearly gave out. Claire. Those were Claire's words, the exact sentence she used to say every Christmas Eve. Tears streamed down Ethan's face before he could stop them. Volunteers covered their mouths in shock. One woman began openly sobbing, but Noah didn't seem aware of the miracle he'd just delivered. He simply hugged the little boy, and in that moment, Ethan finally understood something every doctor, every therapist, every expert had failed to teach him. Noah's silence had never been emptiness. It was depth. Love had reached where pressure never could. Compassion had unlocked what money never could buy. Later that night, Ethan carried Noah to bed after the exhausted boy fell asleep in the car ride home. Snow glowed outside the windows while the city slept beneath winter lights. Ethan sat beside him for a long time. Then Noah stirred slightly. "Dad." Ethan's breath caught again. "Yes, buddy." Noah opened his sleepy eyes. "You're nice now." The words hit harder than any business deal, award, or headline ever had. Ethan laughed through tears, because his son was right. For years, he'd been successful without being present, powerful without being compassionate, wealthy without truly seeing people. But a silent little boy had taught him what mattered most. The following year, Ethan transformed part of his company into a foundation supporting homeless families, autism programs, and struggling children, not for publicity, not for tax benefits, for people. And every Christmas Eve, Ethan and Noah returned to that same community center together. Not because they had to, because that was where their miracle began. Sometimes the greatest voices are the ones that speak the least. And sometimes, a single sentence, spoken from the heart, can change a life forever.